Well, I got news for you. I didn't come here to see you. I came here to see my son. My real son. The one inside of you.
The Hulk. That's the intro. The podcast isn't named yet, so I'm just going to start it with The Hulk.
Okay. We got the 2003 Hulk by Ang Lee. Is that right?
Yeah, Ang Lee.
What made you want to rewatch this?
Because like Red Hulk being in Brave New World and stuff, I was like, I'm going to go through and watch The Incredible Hulk, because that's the last time that we really saw like some of these character stories in the MCU, which is like freaking almost 20 years ago now, 17 years ago. Yeah, so I was like, let me see if they like even going to reference any of that, and then they do. But I was like, let me watch Hulk 2003. Like, it's not technically canon to the MCU. People argue that it could be, which I guess we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, fine movie.
Fine movie. That's one way to put it.
Not terrible.
Like I told you, I saw it in theaters. I remember seeing it in theaters. I remember liking it in theaters. I was also 8.
Yeah. It's one of those. Yeah, it's way back. I watched it probably at like 4 years old.
Oh, man.
And I remember, when I was rewatching it, I remembered specific things. And a lot of the stuff that happens in this movie kind of shaped how I viewed the Hulk as a character, just like in general. Because I guess this is probably my first time watching a Hulk movie as a kid.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking. I think I have to agree because I didn't like really watch that Lou Ferrigno show. I mean, that would be on like rerun channels or whatever.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like something that was widely marketed towards obviously kids our age. But
Yeah, also a good show.
Yeah.
For its time, I think it did fine.
Anyways, you wanna give like a loose rundown of what this movie is? It's long, by the way.
Yeah, it's
a long movie.
Yeah, but it I guess it kind of feels long. But when I'm watching, because I know how long it is, I guess. But when I'm watching it like I don't ever be like, oh man, I wish this was gonna be over soon.
Yeah.
I'm about it the whole time. But Eric Bana is the Hulk, or Bruce Banner. CGI is the Hulk, I guess. Yeah. He probably didn't even do motion capture. The Hulk is probably entirely fake. The actors are just like talking to air and stuff when they're filming it. But how'd you feel about him in the role?
He was. I want to choose the right word.
I wrote stiff. My note says he's stiff.
I wrote stiff about 5 different times in my notes for him.
And they're all about him. Right?
But that was in a row. I just kept writing stiff. But I don't want to say he was just non-emotive.
Yeah, and I was telling you the other day, I think that was kind of on purpose because they want him to be so boring in comparison to the Hulk. Like it's like two completely different sides of a person.
Right.
That's kind of what they were going for. But I think that like he ends up being unlikable. You don't care about him at all.
Yeah.
Like, you care about the other characters more than him, and he's supposed to be the main one. So.
And also, I know this guy was like a bad dude, like an asshole, like Talbot, that character.
Yeah.
But he was like immediately so aggressive.
Oh yeah.
To that guy, like he just seemed like outwardly unfriendly to like everybody.
Yeah, they had like a past, right?
I mean,
they kind of touch on that, but he's got a lot more charisma, though. I will say than Eric Bana.
Josh Lucas chews up the scenery every scene he's in. Dude.
Yeah.
He's just his full mouth is just in it.
Yeah, he's one of the better parts, I'd say.
Yeah.
And then Jennifer Connelly, like she's great.
Yeah.
And so is Sam Elliott. Like he's a good Thunderbolt Ross. He does a good job. I still think William Hurt's my favorite, but
I love William Hurt.
Yeah.
So I do have a soft spot for that in that movie when it came out.
But, Sam Elliott tried to come back for the Incredible Hulk in 2008, but they didn't want him. So I guess they were really trying to like distance themselves from this one because it's not like a continuation technically. But
that seems a little harsh though. But I mean,
yeah,
their decision, I guess. You want to go through you want to give a plot synopsis real quick?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
Oh, me.
You, dude.
Migo?
Hey, you got it. You've watched it what, twice now? I've only seen it once.
I watched it twice recently. But now it's been like 2 weeks since I watched it twice. So.
Oh, come on. You know what's going on. It's a pretty short synopsis.
Yeah. There's not a lot. I mean, there's a lot of nothing happening in this movie.
That is kind of a thing.
Yeah.
It's like it's like a really short plot, but it's like stretched.
And it does take quite a minute for him to get the power, like to have the accident happen that gives him the powers. There's a lot of stuff before that. In this movie, they do something that I don't think has ever been done in other Hulk media, where his dad injected him with So I don't know exactly what it is, but it responds to the gamma radiation when that accident happens. That's a whole new thing to me. I don't know. That's definitely not in like the original Hulk comics. Like I don't know about now, but that was interesting. It kind of reminds me of in the Amazing Spider-Man 2. They kind of run this thing back. I really didn't dig it because the whole concept of Spider-Man is that like he's a normal kid that can like do all this stuff, right? Like he just has this accident happen, but he's got so much like life in him. There's nothing mystical about him. He's a normal guy,
right?
You know, and he's so down to earth. That's why he's so popular, right? Because he's an everyman's character. But they made it where like the reason the spider turned him into Spider-Man, but like was killing other people or hurting other people that had the same, you know, were exposed to the same stuff, is because his dad's DNA is in the spider. So like that's why it worked for him, because he's got the same DNA. And I guess this movie came
about the
first.
Andrew Garfield movie?
Yeah,
I didn't. Just a complete side note, I didn't remember that part of the plot.
Oh yeah, well they throw so much at you in those
Yeah.
movies. You know, like they really were trying to set up a universe really quickly. You know, it's during that time where everybody was trying to rush to set up a universe because Iron Man and you know Thor and Captain America had done so well. But anyway, you know the whole movie kind of does the same thing, where like the reason the gamma causes this reaction in Bruce Banner is because his dad did something to him when he was young. His dad was kind of an evil scientist, right? You know, General Thunderbolt Ross comes in there and like shuts his science work down. Science work, yeah. Shuts his science work down because he's like doing something wrong and illegal or whatever. So like he's a bad guy, which is kind of different from the comics, because if I recall, he kind of just is like a abuser that like kills Bruce Banner's mom when he's young, and that's it for his character. But let's say Nick Holt, great in this movie. Probably the best part.
Nick Nolte was.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Nolte. My bad.
No, you're good. You're good. He was my favorite part. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you what I saw. I was reading like the small article that was like referenced in another thing.
Yeah.
What Ang Lee told him that sold him to join the project was this was like a Greek tragedy.
Oh yeah, I got some stuff about that. Yeah.
Before we get into more of this, like the nitty gritty of this movie, does it read like a Greek tragedy? I don't want to pretend like I know everything about Greek tragedies.
I mean, I don't know too. I don't know very much either. But
this doesn't.
Kind of.
I don't know.
Kinda. Well, I mean, it is more of the tragedy thing than like a superhero movie.
No,
you're
right. Yeah.
Like, the Hulk is not really a hero here. I mean, you know, the stuff with his dad towards the end. You know, he does some heroic stuff, but like he's killing people left and right. You know. He's showing that he's kind of more of a problem than a help most of the movie, and it makes sense why they tried to contain him.
They're like, gonna lock him away in a tower for most of his life.
Yeah, and that probably would have been a good idea. You know, the world probably would be safer if you just locked the Hulk up, at least, especially this version of the Hulk. Which
is very different from how they portray any superhero nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, even the Incredible Hulk in 2008. He's heroic towards the end. Like they need him. They really needed him. And then, you know, Mark Ruffalo, they've made his he's such a different kind of Hulk now, which whatever. But this movie kind of reads like a Greek tragedy, and there's like some things that they do with the visuals that kind of point to that. Like, so when Bruce Banner has the accident happen, right, he doesn't immediately transform, right? Like it's like later on he's back at the lab at night and he's doing something, and I can't remember exactly what happens. It's been a second. But he transforms into Hulk for the first time, and he picks up the ball in the lab like Atlas in the boulder. It's like the gamma ball. I don't really understand what's going on. The
machines.
Yeah,
the machines in this movie, they are the most sciencey looking machines.
Yeah,
and this is coming from someone who doesn't work in a lab with radiation and things like that. But obviously, like this is like they've just made like a thing. That's what it looked like to me. It didn't look like real, obviously.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm not sold on it. But
it's like I'm not sold that this is a gamma radiation transference. But
could have made it look a little different. I'd be more sold in this very fictional movie.
Oh yeah, no.
I need to be more sold on the boulder.
He said my immersion.
But there's not really a ton of things like that in this movie. I mean, I could see why Nick Nolte was sold on that idea, though. And this movie's not completely different from that, but I wouldn't really be like, oh, what a Greek tragedy, you know?
Yeah. Well, it is good to point out about Ang Lee. I mean, he has a vision. He
definitely had a vision.
He is like a specific director, like that. He like when he makes a movie, like he's.
And this is one of those times that the studio was not interfering too much, from what I've read. And you can kind of tell that the movie is what he wanted it to be.
Really,
you know, like this movie is his vision.
Okay,
yeah.
So this is like his almost full brainchild, you could say.
Yeah, feel like with some of the stuff that happens, how deep they go into the stuff with his past, you know, and his parent. This feels like a director/writer that wanted this to happen, not a studio thing. Because, you know, a studio would be like, cut some of that shit out, more fight scenes, you know, because there's not a ton of them in the movie. So,
if somebody had been involved more on that, they would have cut some of that out. That is in my notes. I noticed that. We're jumping all over the place, but in my notes, they could have trimmed the fat out. But there's also this. They cover a lot of ground in the first 15 minutes. Hold on, let me hit that real quick. We stop talking about the plot. There's really not much else. Like he gets hit with the gamma, and then like it just snowballs from there. Like they want to lock him up. Like that's the whole movie.
Yeah.
Like I cannot understate that enough. That it's we're not trying to skip over that, but
yeah. I mean, that's it. He turns into the Hulk, and they're like, "You're a danger." You know, we gotta lock you up, and they chase him. You know,
and it's, you know, three different people want him for three different reasons. You could say to
Yeah.
boil it down to like that. But in the first 15 minutes of the movie, they smash cut through his infancy, his teenage years, and then like going to college. They just hammer through it, and they tread a lot of ground that they wouldn't have needed to tread. But they could have just like shown like the intro, like his, you know, his backstory or whatever, however they wanted to do it, and then just go into him being like the scientist. There's this chunk of time where this stuff is going on that's like, it's visual storytelling, obviously.
Yeah.
But
it feels like a director's cut of a movie, which is why I say there wasn't much studio interference. It's got the extra added, you know, details, you know, like that usually would get trimmed out, like you said.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, and then, you know, there's that, and you know, if the studio had interfered more, they probably would have been like more CGI dogs for Hulk to fight.
That was another part. We were talking briefly in our messages before we started doing this. There were things that I didn't remember. I didn't remember the last 20 minutes of the movie.
Well, that's just a CGI blur.
Right.
Yeah.
But I remember the fight in the woods. What I don't remember is that the Hulk was fighting three of the most awful-looking CGI dogs I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I didn't remember that part. Why did they turn into gas when they died? I don't.
Yeah, it's weird. You know, they do some stuff in the comics where he fights like gamma-infected animals like that, right?
Okay.
And so it's like not completely out of left field for it to be here in this movie, but them turning into gas is weird. The whole sequence is weird, right? Like. I got in my notes, why does Betty not lose it the first time she sees the Hulk? Because, you know, he's saving Betty because, you know, his dad has sent the dogs, you know, after Betty to try to lure him there. But she just looks at the Hulk and is not scared of the Hulk. Like this, I mean, yeah, those dogs are terrifying for sure. They were trying to like kill you and stuff. And you could see there's something not right about them. They're not regular dogs. But a huge green monster. The Hulk in this movie is like twice the size of Hulk in like more recent movies.
Yeah.
I don't know if
he's
you noticed.
massive. I noticed he was huge.
Yeah, he's huge, which is it's cool. And you know they do a cool thing in this movie where every time he transforms into the Hulk, he gets a little bigger.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, like the first time he transforms, he can actually like stand up in the lab and not have his head poke out of the ceiling.
Yeah.
You know, but by the end he's like way taller than that, you know.
Yeah,
by the time
huge.
he even gets to Betty, he's probably couldn't stand up in that lab and not break the ceiling. But yeah, Betty is just like fine with this green monster. Like, does she just assume that it's Bruce? You know, he is saving her, so whatever.
She no, I didn't even write that down. Yeah, she's just weirdly okay with it.
Yeah.
She what's the word? She's just kind of hanging out. She's like, there's no way she's in that much shock. You know, obviously I've never been attacked by radioactive dogs and seen a giant 15-foot tall green man.
Yeah.
But I feel like one thing after the other would put me from like a here to like a here. You know?
Yeah. She is weirdly okay with it. Yeah.
And I mean, maybe that's just how he, you know, told her to act it. But Jennifer Connelly, say that to say, she did great in the movie.
Oh yeah,
she was in a completely different movie though.
Yeah.
She was way too sincere and like serious and stoic about a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
Then I don't necessarily say that it demanded, but she was.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah,
she took the role seriously. You know. I think they all kind of do though. They all kind of do take the movie really. I mean, it's a serious movie. Honestly, you could do some of this movie and it not be Hulk. I don't like you could kind of take the same plot and it not be about a superhero and do something, change a few things, and it's just like a serious movie about science going bad.
Yeah, just some monster.
Yeah, like someone turns into a monster. Like they could have done. I mean, it's like I said, it's not really as superhero-y as like a lot of comic book movies are at this point and later on. But speaking of comic book stuff, you mentioned the comic book scene transitions. Like it's like the panels.
Those that was something that kept me engaged throughout the whole movie. No matter how like maybe tedious I felt that it got, it was visually interesting. Like it just kept like from the jump of the movie when they're in like the first few scenes and Bruce's mom is telling Bruce's dad, "I'm pregnant." They do this shot where they smash the angles together like it's a side-by-side comic panel and it's just their bodies, like, and it was so weird. And then like something burns out in the middle of it and there's like a circle that transitions to another scene, and it's just like it just keeps going throughout the whole movie.
It's kind of jarring when it happens, honestly, but it's cool. Like it's a cool idea.
I mean, yeah, you have to buy into it.
Yeah, I think
initially,
if someone did that now in a movie, it would probably be hated, but we might have technology to make it look a little better.
Oh, look a little smoother, a little nicer. Yeah, I mean, there was definitely like some notes of like that cell shading kind of, and like those really hard comic book edges, which obviously, again, that was kind of the point of it.
Yeah, they do a lot better with the cell shading in like animated stuff now. Like the new Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man cartoon.
Right.
That's all like cell shaded.
Oh, that's
art,
cool.
And it looks really cool. Like if they kind of did that thing with the comic panel stuff in this movie, I think it'd look better. But we're 22 years past this movie, so
yeah, it's
I'm not gonna harp on it too much.
It is kind of an anomaly. I'm gonna go back to what you were saying, talking about everybody taking this movie so seriously. It makes me think of Nick Nolte throughout this whole movie. Every scene he's in, he's just like shaking, and he's like crazy. Yeah. He's insane.
He sells it.
He is. I think. What did I write in my notes? I think I said he is as crazy as his character in Tropic Thunder is like parodying. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He is like a parody of like a nut in that movie or whatever.
Yeah, and he does it. He does it well.
He does. I think that's kind of. I think that might be Nick Nolte's thing. But I think we didn't throw a spoiler tag at the beginning, but
that was fine.
But can we talk about that end scene with Nick Nolte?
Oh, yeah.
Like when they're at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
And he's like yelling at Bruce and he's like making fun of him. It's like they just let the camera sit there and then just let Nick Nolte just go for like however many takes.
And it works. It's great. That's one of the best parts of the movie. Right after is when it becomes a CGI blob.
Oh, it's horrible.
It loses you a little.
Because he goes, I didn't write the quote down. He said, "Oh, you want me to go? Oh, I'll go." And then he grabs that power cable
and just chews the wire.
He just starts chewing on it. I'm like, oh my God, dude.
Yeah. I wonder what they actually filmed him doing. Like, did they pick up like some kind of cable? And like,
oh yeah, he was probably just chewing on rubber, like a rubber hose.
He chewed on something. He actually chewed on something, though. I hope he actually chewed on something.
Oh, he had to. Dude. There was no way, because that was actually in his hands. Like that was there.
Yeah.
But method acting. He's method acting.
He definitely is like a character. You know, he's one of those actors like say Willem Dafoe.
Yeah.
You know, where
I feel like when I see Nick Nolte's name, I kind of like have an idea of like what I'm going in, like not going into, but kind of going to get from him.
Yeah.
In the way that I can expect certain things from people like Willem Dafoe, like you said, or Nick Cage, John Travolta, people like that. Like you kind of know like where they're going to ham it up and do what they're doing.
Usually, all of them are usually the best actors in whatever they're in too. You know.
Truly, yeah.
Maybe not Nick Cage. I'm sorry.
Hey man,
yeah, the others though.
No, hey, total. That's a rabbit trail to chase, but he's got some turds. He's got some great ones though.
Oh, he's got some. Yeah, especially when he started doing all the B movies to pay off his debt. Some of those are really solid, surprisingly. Yeah.
But going back to freaking Eric Bana out. How do you feel about Eric Bana? I know earlier you said stiff, but I mean like really going through this 2-hour and like 10-minute movie.
Yeah.
He is the movie.
Yeah.
And they force him to carry this movie more or less. How do you think he does it? Do you think he does it successfully? Do you think everyone else kind of
I think,
lifts him up. I mean,
like I said, he is a little stiff.
yeah.
But like I said, I also said, like, I feel like I get what they're going for with making him like that. But he does come off as unlikable. And I mean, I've never been in these fictional situations,
Of course.
you know, but when he's like figuring stuff out about his past, you know, like, at one point there, he goes out to his childhood home, which is for some reason in the middle of the freaking desert with no other houses. You notice that?
Yeah,
Like,
it's like a nuke town.
Yeah, it's like such a liminal space. You know, that's what they'd call it now. You
Yeah.
know?
You know, that's a good word for it.
yeah, it's a liminal space. They do a bunch of liminal spaces in this movie, and it's got a cool effect. Like the lab feels like I mean, I guess it kind of feels like a set, but not really. Like it doesn't feel like it's like in a bigger building. It kind of feels like it's its own.
Oh yeah, like it
contained-
exists on its own. Like
Yeah.
you just walk through this door and there you're there.
But speaking of him being in the house, he goes in the house and does he kind of see what happened between his dad and his mom when he was a kid? Right, he kind of like looks in the room and can see where his dad was trying to kill his mom.
That's what-
he was
okay,
trying to convince his mom to let him kill Bruce. And,
yeah.
yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up. I thought we were gonna get more of a payoff than we did because eventually you have to wait all the way till what, the last 30 minutes of the movie for Nick Nolte to show you the full scene or whatever.
Yeah.
And I found, on one hand, I found it interesting because it kind of like does this thing where the Hulk is in that room, but Eric Bana's character, or Bruce Banner is looking at that door, and he knows something's behind it, but he doesn't know what's behind it.
Yeah.
So he's afraid to open the door because he doesn't know what's going to come out. Right.
But there's nothing actually in there.
There's nothing literally there, but it's all. That's what I'm saying. It's kind of weird in that way because in this comic book movie, it's like got this metaphorical thing going on.
And that's why I called it deep. You're making fun of me for calling it deep.
No,
but
no,
it's
no, no.
deep in quotations. It's deep.
I didn't make fun of you for it. I just said I want to hear what you got to say about it.
But his reaction in that, like, it's obvious that like he's had some sort of revelation when he goes in the house, right?
Yes.
And I don't know, you can't tell exactly what he knows or not, but like he does not have a reaction to it. Like not the reaction I would have. You know, as I said, I've never been in these fictional situations, but I think I would have a way bigger reaction, more emotional to what he discovers there. But
and I think that leads partially. At the end of the day, you could blame the script, you could blame the director, or whatever, but it falls kind of on Eric Bana, however you say his name.
yeah, I've said it both ways.
Who knows? And it doesn't give you any. He's just kind of like the camera is like square on his chin to his forehead, and he's just like got this like halfway emotional, just like, oh my god, But you have no idea. He doesn't really give anything to the scene. He is just in it.
Yeah, that's how it feels. Yeah, like he's not terrible. Like when he says something, it's believable that he said it. He's not a bad actor, but he's just like stiff. Again,
it does circle back to being stiff, but I mean that is kind of it in my mind. That kind of sucks. I'm sure other people say that too, but what I mean by that is like it. You could have this movie be a little bit more elevated, like going back to it. Before we started recording earlier, I mentioned to you like I love Blade 1 and 2.
Yeah.
I feel like that's so good because Wesley Snipes is he is like really good at it. Chris Christopherson's in the movies. He's really good in it. In the second one, Ron Perlman, Norman Reedus are in it. Like they've got these actors that are, they elevate these scenes, whereas Eric Bana is like, as you said, he's doing the bare minimum, honestly.
Just there. Yeah.
And I'm not trying to shit on Eric Bana.
Paycheck.
Love to the man. As he'll listen to this talk about our movie, obviously. But no, I don't know. I can't help but wonder like what we could have had differently had it been like maybe a different actor.
Well, I mean, you can kind of see like Ed Norton's Bruce Banner is not, and he's not in an entirely different situation.
Right.
He's kind of the same thing, like on the run from the same general. The same he's got the same kind of relationship with Betty, and Ed Norton is a much more interesting Bruce Banner. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't like that movie. I've talked about it a bunch already, but I really love that movie.
I should have watched it before I came over.
Yeah, he was almost Bruce Banner in this one.
See, there's a part of me that like kind of wishes that would have happened.
Yeah, me too. Like I said, Eric Bana's not bad, but Ed Norton is so much better as Bruce Banner, and he's like really into the Hulk comics, which was kind of one of the reasons they had issues with the script and the
I've heard
directing
about
of
that.
Incredible
He
Hulk.
tried to like rewrite it or whatever.
Yeah, like he really wanted it to be a specific way because of the way he felt about the character. But he read this script and was like, I don't want to do that. He's like, that's not what I want to do with the Hulk. And it's hard to know what version of a script he read because there's a lot of things that changed, which I have some of that in my notes for later. But Ed Norton would have been good here. And we said not great things about Eric Bana's performance, but I have here towards the end, when you said he's like tied to the chair, and when the scene where Nick Nolte like chews the cord or whatever,
Yeah.
I said that's like the best performances from both Eric Bana and Nick Nolte in the entire movie. It's like watching a play with like the set piece with the black backdrop there. Reminds me of watching like seeing like Waiting for Godot. That play, like just the two characters. There's not much going on. It's just the two of them, right? It reminds me of that. That like the theater in both of them comes out there in a good way.
Yes.
Like they do a lot of. They convince you of a lot with very little.
Right. I'm glad you brought that up because I did write it in my notes. When they walk Nick Nolte in, like you said, it's just black backdrop. They have the two lights coming from the left and the right. They're shining down on like one on Eric Bana's side, one on Nick Nolte's side, and it's just this big wide shot.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, that's really cool looking.
Yeah.
I have to give it props. Like,
yeah, there's definitely like some love for like cinematography and film in this movie.
I'm trying to find here really quickly the cinematographer. We got Frederick Elms as the cinematographer. Worked with David Lynch on Blue Velvet, Eraserhead, Wild at Heart. He worked with Charlie Kaufman on Synecdoche in New York.
Okay. Yeah, so
he is a very competent cinematographer that I did not know until this very moment, which kind of changes things about that for me, which is kind of wild, but hey.
Oh, so you're going to say that it's surprising that someone that
no, I mean, not necessarily surprising. I'm just like, damn, that makes sense,
Yeah,
I mean,
I
hey.
was gonna say it makes sense to me.
Yeah. I think that's cool.
There's a lot of those cool, like, arty shots that you don't get in a ton of superhero movies now because there's more of a formula, I guess. And there's, they're rushed on things. But
I will say, though, if we're going to talk about pure, like, shots, like cinematography, I will say, I don't really know why it was. It felt like only, and you might have a better memory about it than me. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it felt like the scenes with General Ross and Betty, they were just reverse shot. It would just go him, her.
yeah,
like a wide shot of the two of them, him, her. Whereas like if it involved the Hulk and her or Nick Nolte or something, like it was like in the room with them. It wasn't like always just so.
I mean, maybe something like the actor and actress couldn't be on this. They had scheduling conflicts. Like that's why a lot of stuff like that happens, and you can tell, especially if you're watching like low budget television, you can tell like, okay, these people were not on set on the same day.
Oh yeah, they had this guy, they had him scheduled for one day out of the whole shoot.
Yeah, right.
But that I did notice that we have we not talked about? Is there a character we haven't really talked about?
We didn't talk about Talbot, but one thing I wanted to mention about him. Going back to the comic book panel stuff.
Yes.
This movie's got some bad CGI.
Yeah.
And this is so goofy and silly, but I think it works better than the bad CGI where, he's got the Hulk trapped, right? He's taunting Bruce and he wants him to turn into the Hulk so he can get some of his blood or whatever.
Yeah.
So he can like recreate it. Like that's his evil thing here. And, something happens where there's all those explosives behind him.
Yeah.
And it blows up and it just turns into a comic book. Instead of him burning up, it turns into a comic book with the fire behind him, and he just is like still image with the fire. That's cool.
Rewound my movie to watch that again. I'll give you. The only reason I'll give you a specific. When he had him trapped in the foam, he said, "Give me the M4," because at first I thought he just blew up.
Yeah.
He takes a grenade launcher and shoots it at the Hulk.
Oh yeah, that's what it is.
It has this like rubber. Like this rubber band effect. It's actually really funny looking because it like hits him and it bounces, hits the wall, and then like you said, he turns into a cardboard cutout like comic panel. I thought it was hilarious.
I prefer that to some of the CGI here. Like, Like you got to work with what you got, and I think I don't know, man. Though they're like the Pirates of the Caribbean movie CGI. Like I can't remember what his name is, the character, but he's playing the piano.
Are you talking about Davy Jones in the third one? The octopus guy?
Yeah, okay, yeah. The CGI on that is freaking amazing. And what's that, 2006?
Yeah, it was close.
Yeah, CGI
Close in
looked
time.
like CGI did have the capability to look great then. So I mean, like that CGI is better than a lot of new movies, honestly. So I guess I don't know.
People still. I feel like people still talk about that. I mean, and they definitely don't talk about the Hulk here. I marked multiple times throughout my notes about how the Hulk looks, and weirdly enough, like the lighting sometimes like hides how bad he looks.
Yeah, when he's bright green and out in the open, it's like they didn't have to make him so green. They make him like he does not look like he is from Earth. Like with how green he is. Like, he doesn't look like he's on Earth. Like it looks like you're looking at a cartoon sometimes because of how green he is. But I mean, you get used to it. But like you said, when the darker shots where you can't see how green he is, it looks a lot better. Like when he's fighting the dogs and rescuing Betty, you can't see how green he is there.
There's like there's one shot, I guess, at one point he's on the top of the Golden Gate Bridge, and he looks like a CGI monster on top of the Golden Gate Bridge. But then like it cuts and it has all this fog and all this stuff, and it makes it like kind of darker because it goes to the, I guess, a POV shots of like the helicopters and the planes coming after him. And it's got a darker feel to it just because they're like lower in the fog, and he doesn't look terrible.
Yeah.
Because there's stuff obscuring him, which is like a tactic they used on like the PS1 or whatever. like to hide the low resolution and the fact there wasn't anything there.
That's probably why they did it as much as they did in this movie.
Yeah.
To not have to, not have to show how bad it actually looked.
Well, what's crazy is like movies, they'll spend, it's kind of usually in monster movies, they'll spend so much time like hyping up the monster. They don't show you the monster enough because the monster looks stupid.
Yeah.
So it's like they want to hide it with angles and shadows as much because if you get a dead-on look on it, it's just kind of goofy looking.
Yeah. Or they spend all the money in the budget for effects on the one time they do show him.
Oh, yeah.
It's like the one time you see it, it might be really good because they've not spent any money showing them to you, thus far.
Yeah.
About this CGI, man, this final fight is like a mess.
Oh, my God. The dirty bubble?
Yeah.
The dirty bubble?
Yeah. Some of it being underwater was kind of, it's cool, but it like doesn't look like you're watching a live action movie for.
Oh, it felt like a pre-rendered cutscene.
Yeah,
from like a video game back in the day.
And it feels like a video game cutscene from that era. Like, it's been a long time since I've played the tie-in game to the movie, but I feel like the cutscenes in that probably look similar to the CGI. In this movie.
I wouldn't be surprised if they just straight up took the movie clip. That's
right.
I haven't played that.
It would work with the way a video game looks. It's that bad.
I mean, okay, and what was the deal? Did you get any cursory knowledge on this, or have any rather about what his dad turned into? What the hell was that?
Yeah, they never give him like a villain name, which they really didn't do that in superhero movies back then. They didn't really give you the villain's comic book name, but he's like kind of got the powers of the Absorbing Man, but his dad is not the Absorbing Man in the comics. At one time in the scripts, like early scripts of the movie, they wanted the actual Absorbing Man to appear.
Okay.
And I guess maybe they just thought it was too much to have another villain, so they just took his powers and gave it to the dad, which was supposed to be the main villain. It's interesting that they like don't use any actual like Hulk villains in Hulk. Like, he's got enough to use like actual villains from the comics, but
who are some, for example? I'm not super familiar.
So at this time, I don't even think that Red Hulk existed. Like Ross hadn't turned into Red Hulk yet. There's the leader, which is the guy with the big green brains kind of bulging out of his head.
Okay. I mean, he has like a
he's got a roster. I can't name a bunch right now. I mean, there's the leader. He fights like Wendigo.
Okay. And they don't do anything with that. They don't. Abomination isn't
Abomination. Yeah, that's the biggest one. Yeah, they don't. He's not in this movie. At some point, he was in a script, an early version of the script, which is why I say like that would obviously have been a very different script if Abomination is the villain. Mm-hmm. And I wonder what version of a script Ed Norton read when they wanted him to be in the movie that he said no to. Like would he have said no to this? To this like final script of the movie, or was he saying no to like a not fully formed script idea earlier on?
That had the Absorbing Man and the Abomination in it.
Yeah,
which is kind of funny because he said yes to a script that has Abomination in it, right? Technically,
yeah. That's the 2008 one, but they don't call his dad. They didn't call Bruce Banner's dad the Absorbing Man, but he has like the powers of a character called Zax or Zax. I don't know.
Never heard of him.
When he like turns into like the electricity creature and he's like towering over, like the set. there. That's kind of a thing that Zax does. Zax with 3 Z's in the beginning. Yeah.
Zax was 3 Z's. I'm assuming that is a like a B or C tier character.
Yeah,
I have never heard of that before.
But, that being said, the arc with his dad being the villain is like one of the best parts of the movie, even though it didn't really have much to do with the comics. It's great. I'm glad they went that route, honestly.
There's a couple things I did want to mention and touch on and ask you, because earlier you talked about that nuke town he goes back to. Like, he lived on a military base, right? Like, that's kind of the idea. His dad was working for the military or whatever.
But there's nothing else around it. Like, there's no wide shot of it that shows anything even remotely in the distance, which is what makes it so weird.
I only have, for the town, I have Scooper Duper Ice Cream. That was the name of the ice cream thing. And then, so does his dad, we're going like all the way back to the beginning of the movie at this point.
That's all right.
But does his dad blow up the facility, or does he set off a nuke? Because it's a mushroom cloud, which that makes you think nuke, right?
Yeah. I mean, I guess like gamma radiation and nuclear energy are not such different technology in this movie. Right? Like, I guess, I don't know.
The reason I asked that is because technically him and Betty were in the same town when that bomb, when whatever happened. But they keep going back to that nuclear green cloud, that big ass green nuke cloud. But like, is it just like an idea, like an image? Like, I know it literally exploded, but I mean, like, it doesn't like seemingly wash over them, because if it did, that would mean that Betty has gamma radiation. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So,
or everybody there would.
Everybody, yeah. I mean, even Ross would have some kind of mutation, or actually, based on the way that the movie presents it, they would be dead, right? Because David Banner and Bruce Banner would be the only ones to be able to take it.
Yeah, because they got what they got in their blood or whatever.
So do you have any insight on that? Do you have any idea, or is it just a thing?
I didn't even clock that when I was watching the movie.
Dude, they kept going back to it. I'm like, okay, when is the nuclear fallout gonna? Yeah, because obviously I hadn't seen it since I saw it in theaters all those years ago. But I was like, it just never comes back up.
Yeah, they don't circle back to that. Yeah.
There was Amp Energy on the table. Has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but I have in big capital letters Amp Energy spotted. Do you remember Amp Energy?
Is it like an energy drink?
Yes, like I think Mountain Dew made it or something like that. Anyways,
that's
doesn't matter. Another thing, you're talking about the Hulk at one point. This is so scattered.
No, it's
but the you were talking about the Hulk like killing people, and he's like attacking people and all this stuff. There's a point where Talbot shows up to Bruce's house, and they like get into that altercation for the first time.
He throws him through the window.
Bruce puts his foot on Talbot's back and kicks him through the banister.
Yeah, that's what
that would kill him.
Yeah, I guess
that would kill him.
It's
and I'm not trying to poke holes in it, because like obviously it's a fantastical thing or whatever. But I'm just like, that was at one point I was like, oh, Talbot's out of the movie.
Yeah, like he's dead at that point.
He's dead.
Speaking of Hulk killing people, really, I think it looks cool. It's a cool idea where he bends the tip of the tank around and it shoots the guy in the tank. That's pretty cool.
I wrote that in my notes. That was one of the few times. I don't say that like a bad thing, because it is a serious movie. It was like one of the few times like I laughed out loud, because I thought that was so stupid and funny.
It's comic booky.
Yeah, I was like, that is so like that's what it needed. It needed like that kind of thing. His Hulk, he got naked at one point. Do you think his Hulk dick and balls were out?
You're asking the very important questions. I wasn't prepared for this one.
I had it in my notes. I
wonder how many people saw it.
Dude, I don't know. His Eric Banana was out.
His Eric Banana.
No, man.
God.
That is another thing about the effects. How did you feel? Because I personally found it pretty goofy. They show it twice, I think, when he goes from Big Hulk back to Eric Bana.
Oh yeah, that looks terrible.
I mean, I know we're in 2003. We're in a time machine right now. But like, I was like, man, that looks bad for then.
I thought that too. Which I mean, if you're going into this movie expecting great effects, you're going to be let down. I mean, in fact, they were trying to make the movie like 5 years earlier.
I did not know that.
Maybe a decade earlier, and I think Ang Lee might have been attached for almost that long.
Right.
And he was waiting on the technology to be available to like do what he wanted to do. I guess it could have been worse. He didn't want to make it look any worse than it ended up looking.
What is that one? I've never seen it. I've only seen clips of it. Like there's like an old is it Fantastic Four or like Avengers movie or something like that from like the 80s or something?
Oh yeah, they try to make they made a Fantastic Four movie in like '94 just so they could keep the rights. They just had to enter production on something. They never actually put that out. People can watch it now, like
Yeah.
people have seen it now, but at the time it was like it didn't.
Like a tax write-off.
Yeah, it didn't exist. Yeah,
Dude.
I think it's leaked, and that's how people even have it.
That's when you say that, like that's what I think in my head. I was like, that's the movie that we would have got.
Yeah,
it would have
okay.
been the Hulk.
Yeah, and in that case, the CGI is pretty good.
I mean,
You
yeah,
know?
if you look at it like through a certain lens. You
Yeah,
know?
it's not that bad.
Anyways, there was another part in the CGI that I just thought about that I just saw in my notes. You know when they're testing the gamma radiation out on the animals? I don't remember also, before I get to that point, there was a lot of animal testing in the opening sequences and stuff
Yeah.
like that. I don't really remember that, which I mean, that's not really here or there, but I was just like, man, they got a lot of like animal gamma exposure.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it's foreshadowing, but it could be foreshadowing.
Oh, for the dogs?
Yeah, for the dogs
Yeah.
or whatever. But anyways, they were testing it on this frog, and like when it like blows up, that was gnarly. That looked like a real practical effect. Like it didn't look like CGI.
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
I hope they didn't blow that frog up.
That was not. There's no way that was a real frog. If that was a real frog, dude,
God bless him.
God bless him. Like put a damn firecracker in it.
Man, they spent a lot of the effects budget on that one shot then, if it wasn't a real frog.
Right.
It does,
I mean,
it does look pretty good.
I mean, I'd imagine they get one of them little rubber things and just put some red food color in it.
Yeah. All right, I got some fun facts for you about this movie. Johnny Depp and Steve Buscemi were considered for the lead at one point. Jeff Goldblum auditioned. That would have been a really weird...
Oh, no.
Yeah.
That would have been like the... that's like rehashing The Fly.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh, this... Wow. There's a comparison to be drawn there.
There is, yeah.
Yeah. Out of those three people and Eric Bana, I think Eric Bana maybe is the best one. I would not want to see Johnny Depp. Steve Buscemi would look so weird as Bruce Banner. Like,
Yeah, he doesn't have that.
He's got a off-putting face. I like him. He's a great actor. I love him in everything he's in. But his face would not have worked for this. I don't know.
I agree because I don't think I think Bruce Banner is just kind of supposed to be like plain, right?
Yeah, just a plain.
He's just like a milquetoast kind of dude.
Yeah.
Steve Buscemi's too unique looking.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
like
he would be like, that's the main character when you look at the scientist. You know what I'm saying? Because he looks different than everybody else.
I think his face could work for a villain.
Oh,
He's got that look. In those chops. But Tom Cruise was also offered the role. He didn't even audition. They were just like, they were just going to give it to him. I'm so glad that Tom Cruise did not get this role and that he did not get the Iron Man role. I don't.
He was going to be Iron Man?
Yeah, like he was talked to about it, and he maybe turned it down, or he turned it down.
That's good.
I mean, yeah, Robert Downey Jr. is Iron Man for sure. I can't see it any other way, really. He's like he shaped that character. Even in the comics, they draw them like Robert Downey Jr. now. Like,
yeah.
Like that works. I don't like Tom Cruise for a superhero role. He's always thrown around for every.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm glad he wasn't in this movie. There was a version of this script that had Bruce Banner experimenting on convicts, and they were turned into like insect men, and he'd fight them at some point in the movie.
That's dark.
Yeah, that is dark. I feel like
that's dark.
Having like your main character that's supposed to be a good guy experimenting on convicts is like not a good look. So I guess that's why they didn't go with it. But I would like to have seen him fight like large insects. He does stuff like that in the comics.
That would have been cool. Yeah. I think that adds to the overall point about this movie is that this is a really dark movie for what it is, because I mean he's like a bad dude. And his dad killed his mom, all kinds of stuff.
They like I said, they don't really make him very much of a hero in this movie. Yeah, okay, we were talking about like the different villains and stuff. I got written here that when Ang Lee first signed on to direct, he was going to have the leader, the Zax character, and the Absorbing Man as the villains. And they were apparently supposed to be colleagues of Bruce's. And they would get caught in that same accident, which I wish I had remembered I written this down before, because I was saying earlier how I would not have liked it if they had all the villains attached to his same accident. I don't like it when the movies
that furthers your point. They were going to do that with
and
three villains?
Yeah, they decided against it for probably a good reason.
Which is an interesting thing for you to bring up, because that trend has followed like almost all of the superhero movies until the MCU, right? Because like the Spider-Man 3, Amazing Spider-Man 2, like they all had like 3 villains in the movies. Not
Yeah.
necessarily the origin story, but I'm just thinking it's overcrowding the movie.
Yeah, yeah. They make that mistake.
They make
a
that
lot.
mistake for many years after they make this movie.
Yeah.
And I mean, you've kept up with the MCU way more than I have. Like, I mean, have they continued to make that mistake or
No.
No, they've
that's
stopped
not
that?
Yeah.
what else you got for me?
Let's talk about the budget of this movie.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even look at the budget. So, yeah.
$137 million, which I feel like is a lot of money back then for a movie just in general. Probably all the CGI that they used, for the movie. But
I mean, it had to have been.
yeah, because I mean, I know, like, I think Avengers Infinity War had a $250 million budget, and that was a really big deal, Most superhero movies now, like, superhero movies in the last 10 years have like $120 million budgets.
Right.
So for this one to have $137 million in 2003 that's a lot.
I mean, and it had to have been like just the visuals because surely they weren't, paying all those actors that much money,
Yeah, Yeah.
That's crazy to think about. And then you got to account for like inflation and things like that. So I'm
Yeah.
sure that $137 million budget is
$200 million today.
much different now. Yeah.
But it made $245 million at
Yes.
the box office, which kind of surprises me that it didn't get a sequel with that much return. I mean, that's over $100 million gain in profit. So,
Right.
like, I don't know.
So technically, the Edward Norton one is not.
It's not a sequel, but
It's not a sequel.
at the end of this movie, he goes to some South American country, unnamed, right?
Yes.
And that's where he leaves off.
Yes.
He's trying to control himself out in that country. He's not doing a very good job of it.
Oh,
but-
yeah, because he hulks out.
Yeah, but in the beginning of the Edward Norton movie, that's where he's at. He's in Brazil.
And he also is apparently bad at speaking Spanish because he forgets how to say "you won't like me when I'm angry" because he says "you won't like me when I'm hungry." I remember
Yeah.
that from the Edward Norton movie.
Yeah.
Because at the end of this movie, Eric Bana very clearly says, "You won't like me when I'm angry. You're
Yeah.
making me angry. You won't like me when I'm angry." Pretty fluently.
Yeah. So
And then how? Like I don't know.
that's why they're not connected. That one thing.
That one thing.
Yeah.
Eric Bana's too smart.
But like everything that happens in this movie, other than that, when you're watching The Incredible Hulk, like there's nothing that conflicts really. Like they totally could be.
That's not even
connected.
what I'm bringing up. Is not even a conflict. It's just I think it's funny.
It is for me.
It just says I'm mad about it.
I'm not sold. If they were trying to convince me these two movies were connected, I'm not sold.
There's no connection besides the characters, right?
Yeah.
Technically.
One of the producers called The Incredible Hulk in 2008. They called it a requel, which is the only time I've ever heard that word, which means like it's a reboot but also a sequel.
Ooh, that just sounds lazy.
Yeah.
That sounds like bad business practices that have been set forth in motion.
I feel like if anybody at all intended for The Incredible Hulk to be a sequel to this movie, they would have like cast any of the same people, Like Eric Bana didn't want to come back for Incredible Hulk. I don't know if they asked him, but he said he didn't want to do it.
Which I think is kind of just, he's like, no.
Yeah, he's like, I don't like how that movie came out. He probably watched it and he's like, I look stiff.
Yeah. I mean, and then they got, was it Liv Tyler to replace Jennifer Connelly? Or is
Yeah.
she a new character?
No, she's the same. Yeah,
Same
they're
character?
both Betty. Back to the Hulk
Yes.
2003. So we've said that, The Incredible Hulk in 2008 is not a sequel, but they made the tie-in video game to the Hulk movie in 2003, and it is like a continuation of the story. It's not like, it doesn't cover the same ground as the movie does. And then they made a sequel to the tie-in video game that furthers that story. So there's technically like a trilogy for Eric Bana's Hulk.
Dude, that's nuts, man.
Yeah, but I guess
we got to play the games now and talk about
yeah,
it?
yeah. You got to go through multiple forms of media to get there.
I find that really, so what are the sequels? So there's the tie-in video game and there's a second video game you said?
Yeah, it's the one you were asking me about the other day. I can't remember the name of it.
Was it Ultimate Destruction or something like
Yeah,
that? Or is it
yeah.
a different one?
Yeah, that.
Oh, man. Okay, dude. I played the crap out of that.
Yeah,
Blockbuster.
I think
Really
I had.
aging myself right now.
I think I had that on Game Boy. I think I had that one on Game Boy.
Dude, I don't remember what I had it on, but I just remember you could take the tank and then you would bust it in half and then you would have these big boxing gloves on.
Yeah. Good games, good times.
Good times. But is there anything else you want
No, I
to
was about to ask
bury this movie with, man?
Yeah.
That we've been
want to shit on it some more.
Effectively shitting on it for however long we've been going.
I like it. I like it.
That is one
overall.
thing
I think it's good. It's a good movie. It's fun.
I think has been lost in this whole talk is that you really like this movie.
Yeah.
You really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I
should have
think
been kinder.
I think it's okay. You know.
Yeah, it's refreshing to watch a superhero movie that is just not the exact same formula like a lot of the ones that we've gotten in like the last 10 years.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I felt going back to it. It's like, oh, this feels different, but it's still the thing I like.
Yeah. I kind of felt that way. I definitely had that hit of nostalgia.
Yeah,
because like I told you, I remember so many parts of it, and I don't know if it has to do with the fact that there were so many things being green and like weird colors and stuff like that, but there were scenes that really stuck out in my mind as a child that watching the movie again, I remember them now, and I'm like, you know.
There's definitely a bit of nostalgia going back to watch it. It reminds me, like I said, it's my first, interpretation of the Hulk.
Yes.
As a kid. So, well, anything else?
Man, other than I will say, you know what? There's one thing I told you in a message when he's looking in the room with his dad, like when his dad's killing his mom or whatever, and it's like when he's an adult. They do this thing where he like the door like opens and the Hulk's like standing there and like you see like one of his eyes like looking at Eric Bana. Thumbs up. Very cool stuff. Other than that, man, I mean, if I had to, I don't even know if I can quantify what if I had to rate it.
No numbered ratings.
No numbers for you. That's fine. That's fine.
I don't like that.
But you liked it.
A movie's either good or bad.
Okay. Was it good or was it bad?
It's good. It's
a good movie.
Yeah.
I'll say it's okay. I'm not going to go so far.
Okay. So there's good, bad, and okay. It was okay.
No.
Well, if we're gonna add okay in there, I'm gonna go with okay as well.
Nah, dude, you stuck with good. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm stuck with good. I stand by it. I'm gonna start defending this movie on social media.
You have to, man. That's your opposition here. That's your line. Did you not see me draw that line in the room earlier?
Oh, that's what that was for. Oh shit. Okay.
All right. Well.
Sweet.
How do we end it?
That's it.
That's it.